Hello, time for another midweek chat. I had the frustrating experience. I think maybe I didn't push play. I don't know. I was talking for about 8 minutes or so, and then the screen went blank, and I'm like, "What's going on? So I hope it's not I hope it's a human error, which I suspect it is. I got my Peachorama T-shirt on today. So sadly, I'm not in Seattle, so I can't enjoy Peachorama at the Metropolitan Market, where the peaches from the Yakima Valley have just come over, and those are the best. I did get some peaches locally here. The guy said they were from South Carolina, and after about 5 days, they were soft and ripe, and a little juice kind of went down the chin. So I had a little bit of that. That was good. So whenever I'd restart these talks, I always forget what I said, and if I'm talking, if I said it before, but I said it, so I hope it's not too incoherent. Got some parish news and some other things. St Maximilian Kolbe feast today. Talk about him a little bit. It's Feast of the Assumption tomorrow, Holy Day. Historically, that's probably the, practically speaking, in my priesthood, that's the holy day that fewest people attend. What are the holy days of obligation? Should I test myself? Assumption, August 15th. All Saints Day, November 1st. Immaculate Conception, December 8th. Christmas. Christmas is pretty well attended. Oh gosh. The Ascension always was, and it still is, but we moved it to a Sunday most places. New Year's, Mary Mother of God. So that's 6. I think that's the ones. In other countries, Saints Peter and Paul is a holy day of obligation, but that's not in the U.S. So I think there's like 10 that can be, and then the countries sort of determine which ones they will be. So I think in the U.S. right now, things that don't fall on a Sunday, it's starting to be Mary Mother of God, January 1st. Assumption tomorrow, August 15th. All Saints Day, November 1st. Immaculate Conception, December 8th. Christmas, December 25th. So I think that's right. I don't want to lead the flock astray, but I think that's right. Because there was always 6, but then Ascension got moved to a Sunday. Okay, so let me share a little bit about the Assumption while we're talking about. So if you want to celebrate the Assumption with us, if you want to buck the trend of low attendance. Ooh, someone's got a kayak they're going to go on. This is Half Moon Lake behind me, Bronze Bay. A lot of lily pads. It was a beautiful summer scene. So, and sheltered from the southeast wind today, hopefully. So Mass at St. James tomorrow is at 9 a.m. And we have another parish Mass, but it's at Dove West Health Center on Truax Avenue, and that'll be at 10 a.m. And people are welcome to go to that. They're very, I think the current people over there, and Jesse, the activity director, they see the value of what we do. And so they're really gracious when we show up. It's good. So it's a parish Mass. And so typically there might be 50 people at that Mass on every Thursday we're there. And you're welcome to come, because we don't have Mass at our church building on Thursday. Our parish Mass is at Dove. And it's a nice opportunity for human solidarity, to be with people who are weaker and can't get to church, but the church people that can come to church go there instead. So we're together, and we have a lot of parish volunteers that help people get back and forth from their rooms, and it's good. It's a really joyful Mass. So that's 10 o'clock tomorrow at Dove West. It's the building. It's a big complex, so it's the building farthest west. You kind of go up in the parking lot and get in the building farthest to the west. Okay, so that's Assumption. So, a little frustration as I was leaving today. I wanted to talk about the Assumption. I have 2 icons of the Assumption. And by golly, I think I could find them. And I have, in the back of my mind, I feel like I came across them recently, or I saw it, but maybe I'm confusing it with something else. But I have 2 of them. One's on kind of paper with matting, and one is mounted on wood. And it's actually this image. This is very low resolution. I just found a copy of it on the internet, so I printed it out. And if you see this image, maybe, because I used to bring it out for the Feast of the Assumption, just to show it and have it as a prop. And I don't know, maybe it's in a closet in the sacristy or something, but I couldn't find it, either one of them. So that was frustrating, looking for things you can't find. Who likes to do that, right? But why I like it is Mary, right, being assumed into heaven, the angel kind of helping her journey there, her empty place that they thought maybe would be a grave, but isn't going to hold her body at all. And that's St. Thomas. He's my patron, right? So he's in this. He's one of the legends of the Assumption. Involves Thomas, and she is handing him. They always say when in the descriptions of the icons, it's her girdle. It doesn't look like the girdle that I remember my mom had in the she wore in the 60s and early 70s. But they call it a girdle. I call it a belt or a sash. Here's another image just to show it wasn't just one artist's fancy. There's St. Thomas again with getting that sash from her robe. And here's another one, a mosaic. And same thing. She's handing off that sash to St. Thomas. And it's kind of interesting. I don't mean to glory. I really don't. I don't think it's funny that I'm so often late to daily Mass. I'm not really late to Sunday Mass. Sometimes people say I'm not there, but it's because I'm talking to somebody in the assembly. And if I knew it was, a minute to 8, I'd zip up there. But I don't feel horribly guilty about that because I'm there in the assembly at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 4:30 on Saturday. But I am often late on the weekday ones. It's just I feel like I can do one more thing in the morning or da 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 da. And but Thomas, so it's a little appropriate. So I don't mean to joke about it because it's not very respectful to be late. I realize that. But Thomas was late a couple times in the scriptures, right? So he's late to, he's not there when the risen Christ comes, and that sets up the whole scene of him saying, they say Jesus was here. And he's like, he wasn't here, he died. He goes, no, he was risen, he was here. And he said, I won't believe it until I can touch the nail marks in his hands and the spear mark in his side. And then Jesus comes back and says, touch me. See and believe. Blessed are those who haven't seen and have believed. So that sets that whole thing up. It's because he was late. He wasn't there. And this time, so all the apostles are gathering around Mary, and this isn't scriptural. This is just legend. And, they love the mother of the Lord, and she's part of their lives. And that makes sense to me. That's not really scriptural, either, but it's tradition and oral history, oral tradition. And, they see that she's dying, so they gather around her. And I think maybe they thought, well, she's passed, so we'll just leave her be now. We'll leave our flowers. And then they leave. But the grave wasn't going to hold her, right? So she was assumed into heaven. But after all, the other 11 apostles left. So Thomas shows up late. But because he was late, he was the one who saw the Assumption. He was the only witness. So, and then she said, the wind is blowing, just to have proof that you saw me, here's my sash, here's my girdle, as it said. So, that's what that scene is, right? So hopefully, I hate to get too attached to things, but when you're looking for something, you can't find it. So this is that scene. Thomas late. So sometimes they say the early bird gets the worm. In this case, the late bird got the worm. So there's hope for us, I guess. Those masses are tomorrow. It's a beautiful thing. I usually mention. So the Feast of the Assumption was established. It was a long-held belief for centuries and centuries. It was never codified into Catholic dogma until 1950. So pretty recently, 74 years ago. And it was right after World War II, and it was kind of Pope Pius XII, I think, felt that the world needed hope after the Holocaust, after all the destruction of 2 world wars within 30 years. And so the assumption that Mary was the Assumption of Mary, body and soul, So that God never gives up on creation. So it's not just her spirit that rose. It's not like, but her body was redeemed. Just as her body was redeemed and taken up into heaven, so the world will be redeemed one day. And God won't give up on creation, no matter how much you try to mess it up and kill each other and fight. And so that's meaningful to me. So much of being Christian is just kind of keeping hope alive and keeping love alive, even when it just seems like there's so much darkness, you know. And people will look at us and say, what are you smiling for? Why are you hopeful? Or what keeps you going? And we might have different answers, but it's rooted in the fact that Jesus rose from the dead. It's a resurrection view of life, that this isn't it. And then the Assumption of Mary, I think, well, even Jesus, we talk about his bodily resurrection. It'd be easier, wouldn't it, just to say, well, Jesus' spirit rose. That would be, everyone would kind of get on board with that. His bodily resurrection's a little harder for scientific minds to wrap themselves around, but it's important because it's that materialness, it's that bodiness, it's creation that is redeemed and transformed. And so we don't give up on our creation. We don't give up on our world. We try to take care of the earth. We try to not to pray for peace and to work for peace. We're not about escaping the world, but living in it and making it better, preparing it for a day of redemption. You know. But so okay, so that's that. Well, speaking of icons, so we have a nice opportunity, and again, I'm irritated with myself because I made all these posters, and I thought I stuck one in my bag here, but I didn't. We had I mentioned I put it up on our Facebook, so if you have a Facebook, go to St. James, Eau Claire, and you can see right before I post this, there'll be a prior post. There'll be a class in iconography, so this whole style of religious art, you know, they call it iconography. And there's going to be an iconographer from the Madison area coming to St. James for the weekend of September 13th, 14th, 15th. To do a class, and it's $270. But if you want to learn something and you got the time and you have that money, it could be really a beautiful thing to kind of hear about the style of writing, and you do one. You don't just hear about it; you do one. So you'll have a piece of wood and some paints, and you'll hear about the theory and how to do it. And he'll be with you. So what you take home, if it's like the class I took when I was on sabbatical, you'll take one home, and the teacher will make sure it doesn't look terrible. So, and won't it be lovely? It'll be, and I have a picture of what you'll be creating. It's basically an image of Christ, and with his kind of like from here up, and with the halo and the garment and the neck and his eyes. And his face. So could be a really great thing. I've had a couple of people interested already. It's not just for St. James folks. Other parishes have been advertising it, which is great. He said there's really no limit. He said usually there's about 15 to 20 people that show up for the event. So we'll be promoting that in the days ahead. Yeah, so that'll be good. And it'll be like from Friday afternoon till all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning till afternoon down in Rourke Hall. So, okay. Hey, speaking of Rourke Hall, that was where the chicken dinner happened last Sunday. I didn't, probably should have led with that. The Summerfest was I think a very happy, joyful, few blips, but you know we didn't have, which would have been nice, and we were trying to plead, but we didn't have people really volunteer and show up for cleanup after the chicken dinner. And so, as so often happens in church affairs, the ones who maybe were working all day and were doing the cooking and they had to stay and do all the cleanup as well. And that's not ideal. That's not ideal. So next year, maybe we can just get right off the blocks and try to recruit people to help clean up after the chicken dinner. But thanks to Eberts and Cerny's and anyone else who was able to put in those extra hours when everybody else was putting their feet up and having a cold one. But I hope you had that opportunity after that. So, but hey, gosh, Dean was working on those curds all day, and Steve and a lot of our young people stepped up. Anna went into all kinds of different places. She said, I wasn't going to come here, but now I'm free, so I can. Where should I go? I said, well, they're husking corn. And she went from husking corn to work in the silent auction to helping at the Plinko. It just did all these, one thing to the other, and was well used. And so you need, you need people to sign up in advance, but you need people that just kind of show up and say, hey, how can I help? And if you got the attitude and you kind of try to plug away, there's always things to do. Shayna and Steve helped Dean, so did Tim. In the bulletin, I put mostly first names this time, just to kind of save a little space and all. And I know I missed a ton of people. Moonshine Band, I know I took a picture of them, and I must have deleted it before I posted because I didn't get a picture of that. But Jim Owalling and brought the corn and led the band there, the Moonshine. They were so good. And the kids' games, I think, went better. Last year, I heard the kids who were volunteered to help were kind of goof-offs, and so we're goofing off. And this year, I think it went a lot better, so thanks, Kayla and Andy, for helping to run that. Bingo, Michael and Pat, and who was the third one? I can see her, and I can't quite see her. I didn't win. I played 3 games. I didn't win. I sat by Emma. I thought it'd be good luck because she had won. But our violinist, Chloe, won the blackout game, so that was fun, raffle winners. It was just a, happy day. I love the Saturday. I love the outdoor mass. After mass, about 270 people stayed because 270 plates were handed out. So that means plates of food. And they didn't think it was like people coming back for another plate. They think it's actually 270 people, which is a massive effort. So thanks for hanging around. Thanks for waiting in line for that. And I know everybody that went to mass didn't go to eat. So there must have been 300-400 people at the outdoor mass. Got a few pictures up on Facebook you can check. So anyway, it's just a happy event. Thanks for the choir for showing up and helping with that, making it joyful. And then I got to play guitar for like an hour and a quarter, and sing and have a few with harmonica. So I enjoyed doing that. And people seem to like it well enough. So it's just a happy event. So thanks everybody that helped make it a good event. And as I said in the bulletin, even if people couldn't come, you can be proud that we got a parish that can do something like that. And it takes a lot of work. And Christine, she's just hibernating this week to try to recharge her batteries because she's our staff person in charge. And the other co-chairs, Kelly and Mickey Schofield and Pat Hansen and Christy Pitts. Thanks so much for all you did. You brought a lot of joy to people. In fact, Mickey was walking around. He was so happy that Sunday, he goes, this is what makes all the work we do all year is just so worth it, watching everybody come together and enjoy their time together. And this is great. I thought, yeah, good for you. You get it. You understand. That's nice. Oh, gosh. Okay. What else? Uh-oh. Oh, boy. You're kidding me. Oh, here it is. What? No. Oh, here it is. Thought I lost my... So after the nursing home mass tomorrow on the Assumption, I'm going to leave for Milwaukee. I have a friend, good friend. I talk to him almost every day. And he was riding his bicycle. He likes it like I like to ride. And he got hit by a car. And he's talking, and he's going to recover, but he really did a number on his thigh. So they got a rod in his thigh, and he's trying to learn how to move and see if he can go home. But he'll be in the hospital for a few more days. So I'm going to go down there, spend some time with him and his family, and I'll be back Friday night. So you want to pray for him? We put him on the prayer chain. His name is Mark. And, he's got me thinking. And last time I went to Milwaukee, which wasn't long ago, for that Brewer game with those other priests, I hate to say this, and I certainly wasn't trying, but I fell asleep at the wheel. I was in the middle of the afternoon. It was like 4 in the afternoon. I was around the Dells, and I have this car. I got a different car in April, and it beeps when you go outside the lane, which I was so grateful for, because I just heard beep, 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 and I opened it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually fell asleep for like 2 seconds. That's no good. Your life can just change like that, and that's, when he, and you hope you don't take anyone down with you when you do something like that. And, that's one of the great, a lot of people live with that kind of guilt because something like that happens in their life. Fortunately for me, it was just, and I got back, and that woke me up. I wasn't sleepy after that. But, he's thinking, he said, obviously I could have died. And his thigh was like badly broken in like 3 places, and cracked ribs and all these things. And he said, I'm just kind of thinking about life and how I live. And he lives a very good life. So I said, you're not exactly messing it up right now. But he said, yeah, I want to live more deliberately. You can't just take for granted each day you're alive. Well, that's true. That's true. So, yeah. So anyway, that's where I'll be there. And then on Saturday morning, I was going to maybe stay and have breakfast with my mom on Saturday. My mom broke her. I don't know if she broke it or not, but I asked. My brother from New York is over there this week, and she fell at 4 a.m. and I guess going to the bathroom, and she doesn't remember to use her walker. But I don't think she thought like maybe they're all right, but she should go to urgent care just to get an x-ray to see if there's any fracture. And then he took a picture of her and sent it, and she's in a sling with her wrist bandage. So I said, well, is it fractured? Is it not? And I don't know. I'll find out hopefully when I get home. But again, it's just life can be really fragile. So there's that. There's also great things going on. So this Sunday at 8 o'clock Mass, we will bless Wayne and Laura Rapinski. They are, I think it'll be, is it their exact? It might be their exact anniversary. 50 years of married life, right? And there are 3 children and 8 grandchildren. So I'm always especially indebted to Wayne because he's very responsive if I have a problem with anything physical in the house or in the parish. And sometimes in the staff will say, "Oh, something broke. I don't know. We don't know what can we do." And I'm like, "Well, you call Wayne," and generally he comes right over and takes care of the problem. Everything from getting mice out of my house to fixing a gutter that fell off, or I bought and installed a dishwasher last month. So anyway, it's nice. And Laura helps at the school. She's like a teacher's aide. Left her pharmacy career behind at the pinnacle of her life, being an aide at St. James School. So anyway, we celebrate their union and the fruitfulness and how they make our community and school a better place for their presence in it. It'll be a joy to bless them. Olive oil should be sent this week. I ordered it like 3 weeks ago, but the L'Arche community in Bethlehem are on break, and so it'll come out later. I secured airspace for the pilgrimage. You got to do that. It's probably unlikely we'll be able to go on pilgrimage in June, but if things are settled down and it's okay in June, you can't just reserve airspace, in the last few minutes and hotels. So I went ahead and did that. I just reserved 24 seats because I think it'll be hard to recruit. Keep hope alive. Pray for peace. Very sad what's happening over there. What else? Do I have anything else for St. John's trip? I have 11 people going. I can take 16. The monastic retreat, October 28th, 29th. Should be good. And today I just want to say a little bit about St. Maximilian Kolbe. So I'll get to the second what he's most famous for. But when he was a young guy, he had a vision. It's kind of nice that his feast day today, August 14th, is right next to August 15th, the Feast of the Assumption of Mary, because he had a deep, deep devotion to Mary and his care for him and for the world and her motherly love, the power of her intercessory prayer with God, with Jesus. And but he had a vision of Mary coming to him with 2 crowns in her hand, and said, a white one and a red one, and said, "Which do you want?" And the white one was for purity, and the red one was for martyrdom. You want to wear the crown of purity, or wear a crown of martyrdom with your life? Like, she was offering these as a grace. And he said, I would like both. And she smiled and then went away. That was this profound conversion prayer moment when he was, I don't know, I suppose a teen, maybe a young adult. And then he studied to be a priest. He was a conventual Franciscan and got into publishing and writing and promoted a lot of Marian devotion. And did I see this? I think I researched this for the bulletin, but the main question is, what must I do? No, that was St. Vincent de Paul. Sorry, I wrote about that in the bulletin. So Maximilian Kolbe is great, but that was St. Vincent. I don't want to steal St. Vincent de Paul's credit. Because our missionary priest who's coming the week after this is a Vincentian. So, and then in the height of his life, just like at the height of Jesus' life was his death, probably the height of Maximilian Kolbe's life was his death. So, because he was trying to protect people persecuted in World War II, he's from Lviv. I always think of him as a Polish guy, but I think back in the day, Lviv was in Poland, but today we know Lviv because it's Ukraine, right? It's in western Ukraine. Not too far from Kyiv, I don't think. That's where one of our exchange students last year was from, Valerie. So a lot of Jewish people were being rounded up and taken to the death camps, and he was trying to prevent that, and he became enough of a thorn in the side of the Nazis that they arrested him. And a lot of Catholics were taken to the death camps too, not on the scale of the Jewish people, but many. And so what happened was, while he was in that camp, someone tried to escape, or maybe they did escape, I don't know, but either one was a great rule breaking, and it had to be punished by the authorities, so they said. And so they said, because someone tried to escape, we're going to take 10 of you, and you'll die, you'll be killed, we'll execute you. And so they chose, and he was praying he'd be one of the 10, because he wanted that red crown. He wanted the crown of martyrdom, kind of like Ignatius Loyola, or not Loyola, Ignatius of Antioch, who wanted to be chewed up by a lion in the early centuries, to give his life as, what more glorious thing could I do but sacrifice it for my faith, as Jesus died on the cross. And he wasn't chosen. So, and then he noticed that one of the guys who was chosen was a family man. If his wife and children were there, or his son was with him, or something like that, one of those things. And he said to the guard, he said, could you take my life instead of his and let him go, because he has his son with him. And the guy agreed. And so Maximilian Kolbe went to his death, giving his life so another might live, which is a kind of a Christ pattern of living. After Mass today, I mentioned that story, and Ann Carroll said, I did that pilgrimage in Auschwitz, and I was in the cell where Maximilian Kolbe lived, and she said it was just breathtaking. So, these saints, and we're all supposed to try to be saints, see what God's will is, try to imitate Christ, and sometimes there's an opportunity for incredible, heroic, life-giving actions. Would we be capable of that? I'd like to think in an extreme situation like that, maybe I would. Can't take that for granted. But it was a whole lifetime of him trying to serve God and being close to Mary and trying to lead a pure and good life that prepared him for that moment. So you just don't come out of the blue. Sometimes people come out of the blue and do something heroic. But when we're not in an extreme situation like that, are we able to sacrifice our lives daily for the good of others? He's also the patron saint of addicts and addictions. And I thought, well, why is that? I just read a few things that I wrote. Emulating his devotion to God, love for others, and willingness to sacrifice, those battling addictions can find strength to walk the path of recovery and healing through his intercession. And they clarify, he said, breaking free of addiction sometimes requires a willingness to sacrifice old ways. And so his act of sacrifice, giving his life for that father, could that be like someone suffering from addiction, willing to let go of the comfort that the addiction gives and to die to that and try to live in restlessness and fear of the unknown and all the difficulty? If it were easy, no one would be addicted, right? So I'll just kind of leave it there because I'm at 30 minutes. So maybe I can pick up on that next week. But we do pray for those with addictions, with unfreedoms in their lives, especially when they are life-threatening to themselves or to others. We pray through the intercession of St Maximilian Kolbe for their relief. And we pray for that same cause and for peace in our world through Mary, whose Assumption we celebrate tomorrow, Queen of Peace and Mother of the Church. God bless you, everybody.